All right, so you did it. You officially incorporated your not-for-profit, so big congrats from both of us. But now you're probably thinking, okay, what's next? I know I would be,
Yeah, it can definitely feel a little overwhelming.
for sure. But that's why we're here. We're going to break down those essential to-dos now that you've got that official nonprofit status.
Exactly. And the best part is, we're not just making this up as we go. We're basing all of this on expert guidance from B.I.G. Charity Law Group, so you know you're getting the best advice possible.
Think of this deep dive as your post-incorporation checklist, your guide to avoiding those legal headaches and really just focusing on what really matters, your mission.
It really is a lot like launching a ship. You've got your vessel built, you've assembled your crew, but you need that solid plan to navigate those waters.
Okay, so no aimless drifting allowed. So where's that first landmark we need to hit on this journey?
Your first annual general meeting, or AGM. And this isn't just a formality. Think of this meeting as the moment where you really set the stage for how your entire organization is going to run. There are some absolutely crucial things you have to address in this first meeting.
Let's talk about those must-dos then. What needs to happen at this first AGM to make sure we're setting up for smooth sailing?
Well, the B.I.G. Charity Law Group really emphasizes 4 key areas.
Okay, lay them on us.
First, you've got to have your bylaws in place.
Okay, bylaw.
Then you'll need to appoint your officers.
Right, your leadership team.
Exactly. Then it's time to issue membership.
Membership's got it.
And last but certainly not least, you'll need to finalize those banking arrangements.
So bylaws first. I know they're important, but honestly, they don't sound like the most exciting thing to tackle.
Yeah, I get it. But trust me, they're absolutely vital right out of the gate.
Okay, so convince me, why are they so crucial?
Think of your bylaws as the blueprint for, good governance. They actually lay out the rules of the game for your not-for-profit.
The rules of the game. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Covering everything from your organization's core purpose, its structure, to like how you'll conduct meetings, how you make decisions. It's like having a solid constitution in place so that everyone is crystal clear on how things work.
So it's not just about avoiding legal issues down the line, but really about preventing, those internal disputes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what about officer appointments?
Well, every ship needs a captain, right?
Absolutely.
So you need to appoint your officers.
Assemble that leadership team.
Exactly. This is where you decide who's going to hold those key positions like president, treasurer, secretary.
So who should we be looking for to fill these roles? Anyone in particular?
You really want to look for people who, are passionate about your mission, bring relevant skills and experience to the table, and who are genuinely committed to, that good governance.
So a combination of heart, head, and maybe a little bit of spreadsheet savvy for that treasurer role?
Yeah. Exactly. Got to balance those books, but keep that passion for your mission burning bright.
All right, so we've got our rules and our leadership team. What's next?
Formally recognizing the folks that are a part of your organization by issuing memberships.
Ah, yes, memberships. I'll admit, when I hear that word, I still picture, those old school membership cards you used to get. The ones that you used to keep in your wallet.
Well, maybe if you're going for that retro vibe.
Yeah.
But really issuing memberships is about, formally acknowledging individuals as members of your not-for-profit, outlining what that means, in terms of their roles and their responsibilities.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about handing out cards.
Right. You might even have, different classes of membership,
Mm.
each with varying rights. It all just comes down to your specific structure and what works best for your organization.
So it's about defining who's in and what their role is within the not-for-profit. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What about that last item you mentioned? Banking arrangements.
Oh, that's a big one. Just like any well-run ship, you need a secure place to keep your supplies.
Makes sense.
Setting up a dedicated funds account for your not-for-profit is crucial.
I can imagine it really helps a lot when it comes to keeping your finances organized and transparent, right?
Absolutely. It ensures clarity when it comes to your not-for-profit's finances, which in turn builds trust and accountability.
Plus, it probably simplifies things greatly come tax time.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so we've tackled those 4 key tasks at our first AGM. What's next on our post-incorporation journey? Is it smooth sailing from here?
Well, even the most seaworthy ship needs to consider, where it's sailing. Even if you're federally incorporated, you might need to register in other provinces, too.
Ah, you're talking extra-provincial registration.
Exactly.
So even though we're a Canadian not-for-profit, if we want to operate in, multiple provinces, we might need to register in each of those provinces separately.
That's right. It's particularly important if you're, planning to operate or, like, conduct activities in provinces other than where you were initially incorporated.
Okay, so what kind of activities would trigger that requirement? Can you give us some examples?
Certainly. Let's say you're hosting fundraising events in another province, or maybe you're running programs or even delivering services outside your province of incorporation. Those are definitely situations where you'd need to look into extra-provincial registration.
So it's not just about like having an office or staff in another province, it's about where your activities are taking place. Okay.
Mhm.
So why is that so important? What's the big deal if we don't register?
Think of this registration as getting your NFP a license to operate in each province where you're active. Each province has its own specific set of rules and regulations for not-for-profits, so it's critical to make sure you're complying with them wherever you're working.
You definitely don't want to run into any legal trouble just because you didn't do your homework.
Yeah.
It's like, if you had that lemonade stand and wanted to sell at a farmer's market across the state line, you'd want to check if there were different rules over there.
Precisely. You always want to make sure you're playing by the rules no matter where you're operating. And speaking of playing by the rules, there's another crucial task you need to be aware of: annual returns.
Okay, so this is our yearly check-in with the government, right? What exactly are these annual returns and what happens if we just totally space on them?
Annual returns are basically reports that you file with the government to keep them updated on your not-for-profits activities and financial status.
Okay, keeping them in the loop.
Yeah, and they're mandatory, especially for federally incorporated not-for-profits. And missing those deadlines can have some pretty serious consequences.
Whoa, okay, so not something to take lightly. What kind of consequences are we talking about here?
Well, in the worst case scenario, you could actually risk having your corporation dissolved. It's kind of like forgetting to renew your car registration. Eventually, you just won't be allowed to drive it anymore.
Okay, so we're not just talking about a late fee here. We need to stay organized and set some serious reminders about these annual returns.
Absolutely. It would be such a shame to have all your hard work building this not-for-profit, go down the drain just because of a missed deadline.
Yeah, all that effort for nothing.
And speaking of keeping things up to date, don't forget that it's also super important to keep your information current with the government when it comes to, like, changes in directors or your head office address.
Right, keeping things current, got to stay on top of that. So what if someone on the board moves or there's a new president? How do we update that information?
If you're federally incorporated, you'll need to file specific forms with Corporations Canada. There's Form 4003 for changing your address and Form 4006 for updating your list of directors.
That makes sense. It's kind of like, updating your driver's license when you move. You want to make sure those official records match reality. All right, so we've got those forms at the ready. Now, let's talk about the ever important topic of money.
Absolutely. I mean, managing finances responsibly is, well, crucial for any not-for-profit, right?
For sure. So, what are the non-negotiables when it comes to keeping our financial house in order?
One of the most important things is maintaining accurate and transparent financial records. As a not-for-profit, you're actually obligated to prepare annual financial statements that detail your organization's financial activity.
Right, so transparency is key here. But who are these financial statements for? Who gets to see them?
These statements should be readily available to your members if they ask to see them.
So it's all about building trust and accountability within the organization.
Exactly.
Right. The more transparent we are, the more trust we build. Makes sense. Are there any other financial considerations we need to keep in mind?
Depending on your income level, you might also need to have those financial statements audited by an independent professional. There are, specific thresholds set by the CRA. And if your income exceeds those thresholds, an independent audit becomes mandatory.
Okay, so there's a chance our finances might face a bit more scrutiny depending on how much we're bringing in each year. That seems fair. Now, I want to shift gears for a moment and touch on something that I think a lot of people get confused about: the difference between not-for-profits and charities.
Ah, yes, an important distinction. It's a really common point of confusion.
Can you break it down for us? What's the key difference?
So, while all charities are not-for-profits, not all not-for-profits are charities.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's the key thing to remember. If your organization wants to actually issue official donation receipts for, tax purposes, you'll need to be registered with the Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA, as a charity.
So if we're planning on doing any fundraising and offering those tax breaks to our donors, that charitable registration is a must.
Absolutely.
Okay. But that registration process, I'm assuming it involves its own set of steps.
You're right, it does. You'll need to fill out an application form and gather some supporting documentation to show that, you meet the CRA's specific requirements for charitable status.
Sounds like we might need to get some professional help with that process. Speaking of professionals, we need to be mindful of staying compliant in general, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about these specific filings.
You're absolutely right. Your not-for-profit really needs to comply with, all relevant laws and regulations out there. Everything from, like, employment and tax laws to privacy laws and everything in between.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot to keep track of. How do we make sure we're not missing anything?
Well, the legal landscape is constantly evolving, so continuous learning and adaptation are key. What might be compliant today could change tomorrow, so you really need to stay informed.
So we got to stay in learning mode and be ready to adapt. Any tips on how to do that effectively?
Honestly, I think the best thing you could do is reach out to professionals, like lawyers or accountants, who actually specialize in the nonprofit sector, that can help you navigate all those complexities and make sure you're meeting your obligations.
So if we're feeling a little overwhelmed, just remember, we don't have to go it alone. Bringing in some expert help could save us a whole lot of headaches down the road.
Couldn't agree more. Having a trusted advisor on your side can make all the difference.
Great advice. Wow, we've already covered so much ground and we're just getting started. Stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to delve even deeper into some of these post-incorporation steps and offer even more practical tips and insights.
See you there.
All right, sounds good.
Welcome back. Ready to dive deeper into those essential post-incorporation tasks.
Absolutely. In part 1, I was really struck by just how much there is to consider after you incorporate.
It's true. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It's like setting sail on a brand new ship. It's exciting, but maybe a little overwhelming too.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of moving parts. But remember, you don't have to have all the answers right away.
That's a relief.
That's why we're here to break things down step by step to make sure you're prepared for each leg of the journey.
All right, I'm ready to get into it. And one of the first steps we talked about was that all-important first AGM.
Right, the AGM.
Let's zoom in on those bylaws.
Okay, bylaws.
Those internal rules you mentioned earlier. What should we really be focusing on when we're crafting these bylaws?
Well, bylaws are more than just a formality. They're your blueprint for good governance.
Right, the blueprint.
They actually outline everything from your organization's purpose to how you make decisions. Think of them as like a constitution for your not-for-profit to help you avoid disputes and make sure everyone's on the same page.
So we're not just trying to follow the law, we're setting up clear internal processes too.
Exactly. Think of it as proactively preventing problems down the road.
Okay, I like that. So any advice on what to watch out for when we're drafting these bylaws?
One common mistake is being too vague or generic.
Too vague. Okay.
You really want your bylaws to be specific to your organization and its activities.
Tailored to our needs.
Right. For example, a common issue arises when bylaws don't clearly outline, like, the process for removing a board member.
Oh, so what happens if we need to remove someone and the process isn't clear?
It can get messy. It's best to address those potential scenarios up front in your bylaws.
Got it. So it's all about thinking ahead and anticipating those potential challenges.
Exactly. Think proactively.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Bylaws in place. Now, what about those officer appointments? What should we be looking for when we're choosing our leadership team?
Look for a mix of passion, experience, and, commitment to good governance.
Okay, passion, experience, commitment. Got it.
It's great to have people who are super enthusiastic about your mission, but they also need the skills and knowledge to, like, fulfill their roles effectively.
So it's a blend of heart and head and maybe a bit of spreadsheet savvy for that treasurer role.
Exactly. You want someone who can balance those books, but, while keeping your mission at the forefront.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about issuing those memberships. I'll admit, I still get that image of the old school membership card.
Uh-huh. I know what you mean.
But how do we handle memberships in today's digital world?
Well, you're right. Everything's pretty much online now.
Seems like it.
And while some organizations might still use physical cards, many have actually transitioned to digital membership management systems.
Oh, so online platforms and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They make it way easier to, track members, communicate with them, and even manage renewals.
So embracing technology can really help streamline that whole process. Okay, that makes sense. What about those banking arrangements we talked about? Any specific tips for setting up our not-for-profits bank account?
Oh, yeah. I'd say transparency is really key here. Make sure your bank account is clearly labeled, as belonging to your not-for-profit. Avoid what they call commingling funds.
Commingling funds, what does that mean?
Basically, keep your organization's money separate from any personal accounts.
Ah, so no mixing personal and organization money.
Exactly. And of course, choose a bank that, understands the needs of not-for-profits and offers services that align with your requirements.
Okay, great advice. So we've got our dedicated bank account, we're managing our memberships, our leadership team is in place.
We're making progress.
We are. Now let's talk a bit more about those financial statements and audits.
Okay, financial stuff.
We touched on this in part 2, but when exactly would we need to have our financial statements audited? What triggers that?
Usually the need for an audit depends on your not-for-profit's income level.
So the more we bring in, the more likely we are to need an audit.
Exactly. In Canada, the CRA sets specific thresholds. For example, if your annual revenue exceeds $500,000, an audit is mandatory.
$500,000. Got it. So greater financial activity could lead to more scrutiny. Makes sense.
It's all about ensuring transparency and maintaining public trust, especially if you're a registered charity. And speaking of charities.
Let's revisit that distinction between not-for-profits and charities.
Right. Because it's a big decision for an organization to pursue charitable status or not.
It is. So how do we know if becoming a registered charity is the right move for us?
It really boils down to your mission and activities.
Our mission and activities.
Do they actually align with the CRA's definition of charitable purposes? Things like relieving poverty, advancing education, or promoting health.
So it's got to fit into those categories.
Yeah, it's pretty specific. It also depends on your fundraising strategy. Will you rely heavily on donations?
So if attracting donations is part of the plan, charitable status can really give us an advantage.
Absolutely. It allows you to offer those coveted tax receipts that donors love.
Ah, tax receipts. That makes a lot of sense. But I imagine the application process is pretty intense.
You're not wrong. It's quite rigorous. The CRA wants to ensure that organizations claiming charitable status are truly operating for the public good. You'll need to show, with documentation, that you meet the requirements in terms of purpose, activities, and even your governance.
Sounds like having those lawyers and accountants on speed dial is a good idea.
It never hurts.
Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the broader world of legal compliance. What are some common traps that not-for-profits might fall into, even if they have the best intentions?
One common pitfall is assuming that just because you're doing good work, that you're automatically exempt from certain laws.
Ah, so no free passes for doing good deeds.
Right. Not-for-profits are still subject to things like employment laws, privacy laws, even contractual obligations. Good intentions don't equal a free path.
No one is above the law, no matter how noble their mission might be. What are some other things we should be aware of?
Another common mistake is, neglecting to stay up to date with changes in the legal landscape. Laws and regulations are constantly evolving, so it's critical to have a system in place to track those changes.
So we need to stay informed and adapt to those changes. But keeping up with all of that can feel pretty overwhelming.
Absolutely. Especially when you're, busy focusing on your mission. That's why it's so valuable to seek expert advice.
Right, those lawyers and accountants we talked about.
Exactly. A good lawyer can help you identify, potential risks, navigate complex regulations, and ultimately make sure that your not-for-profit stays on the right side of the law.
Okay, so expert advice is worth its weight in gold. It's an investment in protecting our organization and setting ourselves up for success.
Well said. And as we wrap up this part, I just want to reemphasize that we've covered a lot of important info, but there's still more to explore.
Okay, bring it on.
In part 3, we're going to shift our focus to the more practical side of things, offering some tangible steps you can take right away to make sure your not-for-profit is operating effectively and compliantly.
Sounds good. I'm ready for those practical insights.
We'll be back with more advice.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've journeyed through those initial steps after incorporation, and now it's time to, get practical. How do we actually take all this knowledge and put it into action?
It's like we've, charted our course, gathered all our supplies, and now it's time to actually set sail. And I'd say one of the most crucial things you can do is establish a really rock-solid governance framework.
So it's more than just having those bylaws we talked about in part 2.
It's
What does it actually look like to, like, put them into practice, in the real world?
those bylaws, they're more than just a document you file away and forget about, right? They're your guiding principles, for making decisions and holding yourselves accountable. So make sure your board of directors actually understands and follows those bylaws to a T.
So holding regular board meetings is crucial then.
Absolutely. Regular meetings are key to keep everyone on the same page and make sure that decisions are made, collaboratively. And it's also really essential to keep detailed minutes of those meetings.
Ah, so those minutes are like our ship's log, right? Keeping a record of all our decisions and discussions.
Exactly. Having those records, not only does it help with transparency, but it also provides like a historical reference point as your organization grows and evolves.
That makes a lot of sense. So we're holding regular meetings, we're keeping track of our decisions. What else should we be thinking about, under this governance umbrella?
Think about things like conflict of interest policies.
Conflict of interest policies. Okay.
It's super important to have a clear process in place for, identifying and managing those potential conflicts of interest, either among board members or staff.
Right, to make sure that decisions are always being made in the best interest of the organization as a whole.
Exactly. No personal agendas.
Now, let's talk about those financial best practices. We touched on financial management in part 2, but what are some really concrete steps we can take to keep our financial ship sailing smoothly?
Having a dedicated bank account like we talked about is a fantastic start. But on top of that, you really need to establish some clear financial policies and procedures.
Okay, so we're not just winging it when it comes to money.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Think about things like, setting a budget, implementing expense reporting systems, and having checks and balances in place for all your financial transactions.
So we need a system and we need to stick to it.
Exactly.
Any tips for choosing a system that works well for a not-for-profit?
There are so many great accounting software programs out there that are specifically designed for not-for-profits.
Oh, really? Specific software for us?
Yeah, these programs can help you track income and expenses, generate reports, and make tax time way less stressful.
Sounds like embracing technology can really make our lives easier and keep us organized.
For sure. Now, compliance has been a recurring theme throughout our deep dive, and I know you've stressed the importance of seeking expert advice. But, what if we're a brand new not-for-profit and maybe we don't have the resources to, like, hire a lawyer right away? Are there any steps we can take on our own to make sure we're staying on top of those rules and regulations?
Yeah, that's a good point. Those early days can be tight on resources.
Who can? One practical step is to designate someone on your board or your staff as your compliance champion.
Compliance champion, I like that.
This person can, take the lead on researching relevant laws, attending workshops, and just generally staying informed about any updates or changes. Think of them as your in-house compliance guru.
So we've got a go-to person who's dedicated to keeping us on the right side of the law. That's a fantastic idea. Anything else we can do to support those compliance efforts?
There are tons of free online resources available that can help not-for-profits navigate, this complex legal world.
Okay, free resources. Gotta love that.
The government websites, like the CRA, for example, are a great place to start. You can often find like detailed guides, FAQs, and even webinars to help you understand your obligations.
So the information's out there. We just need to take the time to, find it and really absorb it.
Okay, before we wrap things up, is there any parting advice you want to leave our listeners with? What's the key takeaway from our deep dive into post-incorporation essentials?
I think the most important thing to remember is that starting a not-for-profit, it's a marathon, not a sprint,
It's a journey.
Exactly. There will definitely be challenges and learning curves along the way, but with a solid plan, a commitment to good governance, and a willingness to seek guidance when you need it, you can achieve incredible things.
Beautifully said. It's all about being prepared, being adaptable, and, never being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a whole community of not-for-profit professionals and resources out there ready to support you every step of the way. So go out there, make a difference, and keep on diving deep.
Until next time.